Moscow's defenses have already been directly breached. The air defense system protecting the Russian capital features 3 rings of assets designed to operate at 5 different altitude levels. Retired Lieutenant General Ihor Romanenko stated this on Espresso TV. This area has been known since Soviet times. Firstly, inside this area is the 1st Special Purpose Army for directly covering Moscow. Then the Moscow Air Defense District. There were only 2 of them, one Moscow and one Baku from the time of the Soviet Union, around Moscow. So these positions of the 25th complex, the oldest, are now used to deploy new modern equipment that they produce, which they have, he said. Romanenko emphasized that geographically we see 3 rings of assets deployed by them. Experts say there are 5 levels in height. For example, different complexes and different means. In addition, they have formed helicopter detachments that operate against drones, which means overall a fairly high potential. Despite this, as we know, strikes were carried out by the Ukrainian Defense Forces on military facilities, enterprises in the Moscow region primarily, and drones are already flying in. The inviolability was directly violated in Moscow. They reached, although the number that reached is still small. Compared to other objects, it is considered a high-level indicator if 30 to 40% of our drones reach other covered objects, the general stated. He added that according to their estimates, only about 60% of objects in the Russian Federation are covered. A large number of them are conditionally covered, poorly covered by air defense means. Moscow and the surrounding region are, of course, quite powerful among what they have. I want to say that the means used are mainly our attack drones, which operate at night, which operate according to the terrain, and a number of others, which are not mentioned, let's say, by all our manufacturers, which are aimed at performing tasks specifically on objects in the region and directly in Moscow itself, Romanenko noted. The general believes that the question again is that we need to scale up this kind of production and, in addition, and certainly add missile weapons to them. Now there is talk that flamingos are already being produced by the tens, possibly up to 100, one way or another. A dozen have already been used, but from the point of view of an air target, it is a large missile that can be detected, tracked, and therefore destroyed. That is, the question is not just to develop some means, but the question is that this means effectively performs its tasks of hitting an enemy target, in this case a ground, stationary one. And there is still a lot of work regarding this implementation, he said. Romanenko emphasized that Moscow is the most protected in the Russian Federation. In summary, I want to say that despite the rather powerful air defense system around Moscow, they have no other object that they would cover so much, including the Kerch Bridge, for example, not even like that, although there, air, ground, surface, and underwater defense is carried out at the Kerch Bridge. And here, well, let's say, ground and air. But there are also means in development, and already existing means that reach targets, inflict strikes. But they need to be improved and their number increased, so that such strikes have a higher potential and probability. The general concluded. The Russians are trying to strengthen the defense of Crimea by closing traffic across the bridge and installing new barriers. Ukrainian intelligence is monitoring the situation on the peninsula and preparing for new strikes on the occupation infrastructure. The representative of the Ukrainian Volunteer Army, Serhiy Bratchuk, in the air of Channel 24, noted that there may be positive news from Crimea in the near future. He hinted that the enemy is losing control despite attempts to stabilize the situation on the peninsula. The Russians are trying to strengthen the peninsula's defenses, in particular closing traffic across the Crimean bridge and installing additional barriers. Ukrainian intelligence is closely monitoring the situation in all directions, recording changes in the work of the occupiers and their attempts to patrol the waters of Sevastopol. Some of the information, according to Sergei Bratchuk, is used to plan future strikes. We are fully monitoring the situation in all locations. I cannot provide all the information because it is used not only for reconnaissance but also for appropriate strikes, explained the representative of the Ukrainian Volunteer Army. Russian troops are trying to calm the local population, creating a semblance of stability. For a while, they have managed to restore supplies of fuel and lubricants, but Crimean residents are still stockpiling supplies in their own garages, leading to explosions and fires, the expert said. Work on Crimea continues. I think that the news from the peninsula in the near future will be quite interesting and positive for us, concluded Sergei Bratchuk. Despite the attempts of the occupants to strengthen the defense and control the situation, their actions do not change the general trend. Ukrainian forces retain the initiative, and operations on the peninsula remain one of the main areas of pressure on the enemy. In this case, Russian authorities are expanding financial incentives for workers involved in military projects on the temporarily occupied Crimea. The sought-after specialists are expected to travel to the peninsula to repair military equipment necessary for Russia's war against Ukraine. For these trips, double pay, coverage of daily expenses, and housing are promised. Center for National Resistance says, note that these workers, although they receive double pay, have no official status, and in case of injury or death, their families may not count on payments, while they themselves receive benefits, because the Kremlin does not value the lives of its subordinates. According to the relevant resolutions, compensations and double pay apply to business trips to the regions, including Crimea and Sevastopol, and the costs are covered by employers and organizations where the workers are officially employed. Such information is confirmed by materials from Russian agencies and the position of human rights defenders regarding risks for workers in the occupied areas. According to the Atesh movement in the captured Sevastopol, works continue to dismantle decommissioned equipment for repair of combat vehicles as well as armored systems. According to sources from the depot of one military unit, dozens of dual-use trucks and multi-purpose vehicles have been removed. Satellite images confirm the use of this equipment as donors of spare parts for combat operations in southern Ukraine.